Hi, I'm Aaron Chambers. I'm the lead minister at Journey Christian Church in Greeley, Colorado, and I'm honored to be a part of Kentucky Christian University's Preaching Roundtable 2020. If you'd like more information about Kentucky Christian University, you can go to kcu.edu. In this session, I'd like to talk with you about God and what he has to say about reaching the lost and unchurched. This quote has been attributed to Viktor Frankl, who was an Austrian neurologist, a psychiatrist, and also a Holocaust survivor. Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how. What is your why? For a moment, reflect on why you got into ministry. Just think about it. Why did you get into ministry? Now, let's look at the scripture for just a little bit. In Luke 19, we see Christ's why, and I'll get to that in a moment. Have you ever lost something you love deeply? Years ago, my daughter Ashton lost her Simba. You know Simba from The Lion King, the little stuffed animal. We were at the arena in Orlando, Florida, and as we were walking to the car, we realized that Simba wasn't there. And so I ran back and tried to get in again, and the security guard would not let me in. And finally, I begged him. I said, please, my daughter's lost her stuffed animal. It means everything to her. I promise you I'll come right back. Just please let me. And he let me in, and I went, and the arena had already been cleaned, and the stuffed animal was gone. And so I had to come back to the car and tell Ashton that her beloved stuffed animal was gone, and we cried all the way home. Now, my daughter's 27 years old, and we talked about this the other day, and she's still upset about it. Here's the thing. I saw only a stuffed animal, but when my daughter Ashton looked at Simba, she saw a friend. She saw someone she loved. Jesus loved lost people. So when he looked at them, he saw someone worth loving, someone worth saving. We see this in his interaction with Zacchaeus. Remember Zacchaeus? He was a wee little man. In Luke 19, we read about this amazing event. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but being a short man, he could not because of the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up. Let me pause here and point something out. Jesus looked up at Zacchaeus. Jesus saw Zacchaeus. Jesus sees people. And once you start looking for it in the Bible, it's like shopping for a red Saturn. You know when you go shopping for a red Saturn and you leave the dealership because you're going to think about it and you're going to wait on making the purchase, and then that night on the way home and the next day all you see are red Saturns? That's kind of how it is with seeing Jesus see people. In Luke 13:12, when Jesus saw her, he called her forward and said to her, "Woman, you are set free from your infirmity." In John 5:6, when Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" John 11:33, when Jesus saw her weeping and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. And then in Mark 10:21, Jesus looked at him and loved him. "One thing you lack," he said, "go sell everything you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come and follow me." What did Jesus see when he looked up at Zacchaeus? Now let me back up a little bit before we move forward. Luke 19:1-4, Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. As we already read, a man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector, was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but being a short man, he could not because of the crowd. So he ran ahead, climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. Here's what I want you to notice in this encounter, because this is so helpful as we think about reaching the unchurched, as we think about reaching lost people. Jesus saw somebody who was searching. Did you notice that Zacchaeus was looking for Jesus? Zacchaeus was looking for Jesus. He was looking for opportunities to see Jesus better. He climbed a sycamore tree. Now I want to ask you, during this difficult time, as ministers, as pastors, as leaders in the church, what opportunities do we have to see Jesus better? Let me give you some challenges, some really practical challenges. First of all, I want to challenge you to read the Bible vacationally, not just vocationally. Do you know how you read a book on vacation? On vacation, you read a book for fun. You just kind of meander through it, and you're not trying to meet a deadline, right? You're just reading it for fun. Here's the problem. So many of us, we pretty much read the Bible only vocationally. We read the Bible for work. We read the Bible to do counseling. We read the Bible to write sermons. We read the Bible to write lessons. I want to challenge you. If you want to see Jesus better, start reading the Bible vacationally. Just take your time, enjoy it. Do side studies on something you've read that you are interested in, and just take your time and really enjoy it. I want to challenge you to maintain a vibrant devotional life. You know what's got me through this hard time as well is my time with the Lord. I journal, I read the Bible, and I've had a chance to read through the Bible several times. And I want to really encourage you, please, 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 if you really want to reach the unchurched, it is so important that you have a deep relationship with Jesus Christ. So maintain a vibrant devotional life. Find time each day when you just sit with the Lord. Maybe put on some worship music, whatever helps you to get focused on God and on Jesus Christ, his Son. Read your Bible, get a journal, read a devotional book, but take time to have a vibrant devotional life. I want to ask you also, don't just deliver sermons, listen to sermons too. Make sure that you are feeding your soul. And like now more than ever, there are ample opportunities to listen to other preachers online, listen to their sermons. But just don't be a person who just talks all the time and never listens. Look for Jesus by listening to sermons too. We've probably, as ministers, all told the story of the businessman who was rushing to the airport to try to catch a flight. He didn't want to be late, and he was on a mission trip. And as he was running into the airport, he bumped into a table. There was a girl outside the airport selling trinkets. He bumped into her table, and everything went flying. And he just looked back for a second, saw that he had basically knocked over everything she had, but he kept running because he had to catch his flight. Well, he's sitting there at the gate, having made his flight, and he realizes that he had done something wrong. So he looked at his companions. He said, I'm going to do everything I can to catch this flight, but I need to go back and make something right. So he went back through security. He went back outside the airport, and he helped this little girl set her table back up again. After he was done helping her, he gave her $20 American for the damage that he had done. He asked her if she was okay, and he said, I hope I didn't spoil your day too badly. And as he started to walk away, according to the story, the little girl asked him, Sir, are you Jesus? Are you Jesus? Do people who are searching for Jesus mistake you for him? They should. What did Jesus see when he looked at Zacchaeus? He also saw someone who was savable. Let me read once again from Luke 19. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, he has gone to be the guest of a sinner. But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, look, Lord, here, and now I give half my possessions to the poor. And if I've cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount. Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save what was lost. Now the legalists knew Zacchaeus, and they did not think he was savable. He'd been labeled by the people in his town as a sinner. He was a tax collector, and tax collectors were not respected members of society. Zacchaeus was a chief tax collector who was stealing money from his own people, the fellow Jews, on behalf of the Roman government. But Jesus saw him as savable because, here's the thing, because Jesus thought Zacchaeus was savable, he went to the spot where Zacchaeus was. He went to his spot. I love that. Jesus met Zacchaeus where he was. He met him at the spot. Now this is interesting because we so often look at this story and we think about Zacchaeus looking for Jesus. But what I want to point out to you is this, is that in this story, it is just as much, if not more so, about Jesus looking for Zacchaeus. It says he went to the spot. So he's walking around, and it says he went to the spot. So it's almost like Jesus went to the spot and said, where is it? Right here. And he looks up because he knew if he gets to this spot, he would see Zacchaeus. I want to point that out because Jesus met Zacchaeus where he was. He met him at the spot. Now, what is the spot for us and the spot for Zacchaeus and the spot for Jesus? It's the place where grace and sin meet and where hope is born. Now, we expect sinners to meet us at our spots. The outreach programs of most churches are built around the goal of getting lost people to come to our churches, our spot, which is the exact opposite of what Jesus did and the exact opposite of what Jesus wants us to do. Here's the thing. If you look at Luke 15, Jesus wants us to leave the 99 sheep in the open field and go out and search for the one lost sheep. He wants us to move the furniture and search the entire house for the lost coin. He wants us to run out and meet the lost son as he's making a turn for home. And he wants us to go and make disciples of all nation. Listen very carefully, ministers, pastors, church leaders. He wants our spot to be wherever lost people are. Jesus did not expect Zacchaeus to find him. He didn't send Zacchaeus an email with directions to his spot. He didn't put a post on Facebook with directions on how to get to his spot. He didn't put his directions to his spot on his webpage. He didn't hang a banner with the words, "Come worship with us," on his church building. No. Jesus didn't expect Zacchaeus to do all the work, so he met him where he was. You know this. Fish don't jump on the boat. Good soil doesn't jump on the seeds. Disciples don't make themselves. Sheep, coins, and sons don't find themselves. We have to go to their spots and look for them. Jesus went to the spot where he knew he could find Zacchaeus, and when he arrived there, he looked at him. Because Jesus thought he was savable, he didn't label him. Let's resist the temptation to label people, because it's hard to love somebody you've labeled. The crowd of people could only see Zacchaeus as a sinner. They had labeled him as a sinner. That's not who Jesus sees. In Zacchaeus, Jesus sees a lost man who needs to be found, and in being seen, Zacchaeus sees the need to change and is transformed in several important ways. How is he changed? Well, Luke tells us, first of all, that Zacchaeus stood up. What does that mean? Was Zacchaeus sitting? Was he kneeling before Jesus? Was this Luke's way of telling us that Zacchaeus had been immediately transformed into a man of great stature, morally speaking? I choose to believe the latter. Second thing, Luke tells us that Zacchaeus said, "Look, Lord," which shows us that he is now no longer a man desperate for a glimpse of a celebrity, but a man who has seen the face of his Lord. And third, Zacchaeus, a chief tax collector who stole money from his fellow Jews on behalf of the Roman government, promises to give half of his possessions to the poor and repay 4 times the amount of what he's cheated people out of to the people who've been cheated. Here's the thing I want to point out. Being seen for who you can be is a powerful and transformational force. What did Jesus see when he looked at Zacchaeus? He saw a man who was searching and a man who was savable. What do you and I see when we look at people? Here's the thing. We must not see anybody as a lost cause. I believe in Jesus, so I believe there's hope for everyone. Now, Jesus wasn't short-sighted when it came to Zacchaeus. He didn't see Zacchaeus as a short crook who deserved to be locked away for what he had done to his own people. Jesus saw a man of great moral stature who needed salvation and needed to be welcomed gladly by his own people. So he proclaimed for all to hear, "Today's salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save what was lost." I love that. He reaffirms Zacchaeus in front of his people and calls him a son of Abraham. Now, when it comes to evangelism, and it comes to reaching the unchurched and preaching to the unchurched, the following statement is so true. We are limited not by our abilities, but by our vision. Jesus saw people. He saw people. He had great vision. Do you have a vision to reach the lost? Do you have a vision for the unchurched? Because here's the thing I want to point out. This was Christ's why. His big why was he came to seek and save the lost. What is your why? What is your why? What is your purpose? Don't forget your purpose. Don't forget what God called you to maybe years ago, or just listen. Here's the thing. God has called you to ministry, all right? Until he calls you out of ministry, you and I are called into ministry. What is your why? I know my why. My why is to go to heaven and take as many people with me as possible by communicating the love of Jesus through speaking and writing. Jesus knew his why, to seek and save the lost. And because he knew his why, he saw people differently. I want you and I to see lost people, to see unchurched people differently, to see them like Jesus. Don't let COVID or the next great trial limit the vision you and your church have for lost people.